Predictable dice. Roll a pair of six-sided dice. Find the following products. The top of die 1 times the top of die 2. The bottom of die 1 times the bottom of die 2. Top of die 1 times the bottom of die 2. Top of die 2 times the bottom of die 1. Find the sum of the products. The sum of these four products can be predicted before the dice are rolled. So that's what you would be doing, another prognostication, a prediction. So one thing you may or may not know about regular six-sided dice is that opposite sides always sum to 7. So no matter what is rolled with a six-sided regular die, the opposite side is always going to be a number that when added to the number on top has a sum of 7. So when we do this trick, we are going to look at doing the trick, but we're also going to algebraically figure out why the trick works. And then using that understanding of how you use algebra, you are going to demonstrate that you could do this for any number-sided dice that you had. So let's go ahead and look at our two dice. I'll go ahead and roll them. So we have a 3 and a 5. So let's go ahead and do 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is going to give us 15. And the bottom of the first die, well, if this is a 3, then the bottom is going to be a 4. And I can double check that. And if this is a 5, the bottom of die 2 is going to be a 2. And I can double check that. And then I take the product of these. 4 times 2 is 8. Now I'm going to take the top of this one, 3, and I'm going to, instead of taking the top, I'm going to take the bottom. And that's my 2. And I'm going to take the product, and that's going to give me 6. And then I take the bottom of the first one, times the bottom, or times the top of the second one. 4 times 5, and that's going to give me 20. So I had a video error earlier, so I'm redoing this whole thing. So then what you do is you find the sum of these products. So when I look at my ones column, I can see I have 14, and 14 and 5 is 19. I'm going to carry my 1. There's 2 plus 2 is 4. The answer is always going to be 49. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at why this works algebraically. So, you know Mrs. Porish, she likes her tables. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a table, and the table is going to have the possibilities for the white die and for the green die. And we could have 1 on the top, 2 on the top, 3 on the top, 4 on the top, 5 on the top, or 6 on the top, which would mean we would have 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the bottom for our white die. Same thing for our green die. So if you need to pause the video to get your table set up, this is a great time to do that. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about these values in terms of x or y. So if I look at my white die and I have a 1 on top of my white die, I'm going to call that value X. So I'm going to lightly scratch that out because now my top number is going to be X. Well, how can I get 6 using a value of X? Well, I know that the total, the sum of the top and the bottom numbers is always going to be 7. So I can get a 6 by taking 7 and subtracting the X value from it. So I can get a 6 when X is 1 by taking 7 minus the X. Well, what about when X is 2? Well, to get a 5, I would simply take, again, 7 minus my X value, which in this case it would be 2. So to find the sum for any of these, I could simply use my X and this for my top value and this for my bottom value. So I'm just going to very lightly go through and cross out all of these. This is maybe redundant, but I want you to understand that it would work for any of the possibilities that come up. If 6 is on top and I let X be 6, then over here I could find this answer by taking 7 minus my X value, which is 6, and that would give me 1. The same thing is going to be true over here, except we're going to use a different variable. Now, oftentimes I've mentioned that sticking with one variable is best in algebra, and it does make it easier. But today for this one, we're going to switch that up a little. And we're going to call the green die Y. And so over here, Y is going to be each of these values when I roll it. And then to get the other number, I would again simply just take my value of Y, subtract it from 7, and I would get this value. So all the way down here, I'm going to write 7 minus Y. So I've renamed these in terms of X's for my white die and Y's for my green die. I'm going to stop the video now. You're going to need to go to part 2. And on part 2, we're going to use this chart. And we are going to figure out algebraically why, when you sum the products, as was described in the trick, it always equals 49.